الحمد لله الذي قاد عباده إلى جنته فضلا وكرما بسلاسل الإيجاب أوجب علينا طاعته وما أوجب إلا جزيل الثواب وسلامة من العقاب. أحمده تعالى وأشكره على نعمة الإيمان وما من به علينا من دوام العافية والإحسان، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا رسول الله شهادة عبد منيب خاشع أواه، والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين القائد الغر المحجلين وعلى آله وصحابته والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فيا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله تعالى حق التقوى وراقبوه مراقبة من يعلم أنه تعالى يسمع ويرى، واعلموا أن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We always begin by praising Allah and acknowledging that anything praiseworthy that issue forth from any being, in essence, that praise belongs to Allah. And we remind each other that so that we safeguard our good actions and we don't lose them by imputing praise to ourselves. So we praise Allah who has guided us to Islam through no other means but His own mercy and His grace. And His ni'mah, or His blessing, His gift, is not from any intellect, it's not from our birthright, it's not where we're from, but just the mercy of Allah that we are counted among the Muslims, the community of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we praise Him for that, and we ask Him to send salutation and peace upon the Prophet, the Imam of the messengers and the prophets, the last prophet and the first. And we also ask Allah to send peace and salutation upon His family and His companions and those that follow them in excellence until the day of judgment. We always remind each other that being included among those who follow them in excellence until the day of judgment, the door for that is wide open. So we should have zeal or be zealous to be included in that group and not be excluded from the group. As for what follows, we always remind each other that the door to everything that we want here is to develop taqwa. And Allah has commanded us all throughout the Quran to develop taqwa. To stop when He said stop, to do whatever He said do, the way that we know that He likes it, in private and in public, not the way that we may twist and turn it to fit our own lower desire. And the way to develop that tangible way to implement it right away is to start making sure that we observe Allah in everything. Because when we do that, then we'll always be aware of the divine rights in every situation. And we won't forget that. And we'll think about what it is that Allah likes and what He doesn't like in every situation, and what the Prophet ﷺ did or commanded to be done in every situation. And then we will have to follow that. And further, a person may ask, how can I be observing Allah in every situation? Because the world is busy. And this is why Allah, all throughout the Quran, also, He mentioned taqwa and He mentioned remembering Allah. Because the remembrance of Allah will keep Allah in your mind. When Allah is in your mind, then you're going to observe Him in every situation. If you don't remember Allah, you let the world take you. And all throughout the day, you're thinking about food, work, the opposite sex, so on and so forth. Then that's what the heart is going to be. That's what the mind is going to be. The mind that follows the heart, not the other way around. So the heart has to be centered on the remembrance of Allah. And in order for us to be able to observe Him in every situation, for us to be present, that present where we are, with Allah in our heart, in our mind, to be able to observe Him. So if we remember Him, we're going to observe Him. If we observe Him, then we'll never choose the wrong way, we'll choose the right way. When we choose the right way, that's the definition of the taqwa. So may Allah make it easy for us, and may Allah bless us to be among those who develop taqwa. This world, for sure, is a training ground and a proving ground. It's an arena in which the Muslim, that being the person who has submitted themselves or committed themselves to submit to the will of Allah, is separated out from the disbeliever or the person who reject the truth and does not commit to submit themselves to the will of Allah. They're separated apart the same way that the machines separate the wheat from the chaff, the meat of the fruit from the outside of it, from the trash of it. And Allah, He's the ultimate reality. And He deserves that everything in creation submit themselves to Him. And this is why Allah, He created the reward for the good action and the submission, and He created the punishment for the opposite. Not just to punish the people, but to drive them towards what's right. Because Allah, He would like for all of His creation to be on what's right. But everybody is going to be doing or have the end according to their work. So this world, when we remember that it's only a training ground and a place to prove ourselves, then we remember that there's nothing to get caught up in. It's just an abode or a place of struggle. It's a place of physical, mental, and spiritual struggle against shaitan, against the jinn from the shaitan, and the mankind that are with shaitan. And even more insidious, it's a place where we fight against and struggle against our own self, which is the worst enemy because it's like a Trojan horse. It's inside job. When a Muslim stakes a claim to aspire to be a believer, it's something big. Allah, He said in the Quran, say to them, or to the desert Arab people, or rather He said, قَالَتِ الْأَعْرَابُ آمَنَّا. He said the desert Arab people, they say or they claim, we believe, or they claimed belief for themselves. In another way, they claimed that they were on the level of being a believer. Allah said, قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُولُوا أَسْلَمْنَا. Say to them, no, you haven't believed. But you can say, I've submitted. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. But as for belief, it hasn't really entered into your heart. So just the claim to aspire to be a believer is something big. And Allah is not something He takes lightly. Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun kabura maqtan indallahi an taqulu ma la taf'alun. Oh, you who believe, why is it that you say that which you don't do? It's big, it's huge in the sight of Allah that you say what you don't do, or you claim what you don't do. So this claim of faith or belief, it must be tested. The same way that if we go to school or we go for some training or we go for something, before we can get the stamp of approval, we have to be tested to make sure that we come through with flying colors. Allah said, Alif Lam Mim, ahasiba an-nasu an yutraku an yaqulu amanna wa hum la yuftanun, wa laqad fatanna alladhina min qablihim falaya'lamunna Allahu alladhina sadaqu wa laya'lamunna al-kadhibin. He swore, Alif Lam Mim, do the people think that they will be left alone to just say, I believe, or we believe, and they won't be tested? For sure, we've tested people before them. And Allah, He's going to know who is a real believer and who is a liar. So when we embark upon this path to progress, to try to reach that stage of being a believer, for sure, we're going to be tested all along the way. Elsewhere, Allah said, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. He said again, and we shall test you all of something from fear, from hunger, from loss of wealth and of life, and of provisions and fruits and crops. But give glad tidings, happy news to those who are patient, those who, when any calamity befall them, any loss, they say, or they console themselves with Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily, we belong to Allah, and we're all returning to Allah. Those people who have patience and they resort to Allah in the time of a hardship or calamity, those people Allah promised, alayhim salawatun min rabbihim, that on them will be salawat, or blessings and benediction from their Lord. Where else do we hear this? Only when we ask Allah to send salutation on the Prophet. So being patient in the face of adversity is something huge. So Allah said He guaranteed that He's gonna bless those people and send salawat directly on them and rahmah and His mercy. And He said, Ulaika humul muhtadun. Those are the ones who for sure will be rightly guided. And we know that the test is all the time. It's not only when we see ourselves experiencing some hardship. Allah said, فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَّمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِي وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِي. Allah said, as for human beings, look at them. As for your human being, look at them. When they're tested with something good, with good times, with abundance, with pleasure, happiness, they say, oh, look at my Lord, He's made me noble, or He's raised me up, He blessed me. But then when their Lord tests them with some restriction in their provision, just that alone, then look at them, they cry out and say, oh, my Lord has disgraced me. My Lord let me down. But in each situation, it's a test. And in each situation, it requires patience. It's easy to know or see when we are experiencing some kind of hardship. We know, okay, we have to be patient. And then Allah, He promised us in the Quran that even when we do have a hardship, it's going to be followed by many eases. By so much ease that you almost forget that there's hardship coming. Some of the scholars, they say, when they see ease, then they get scared. Because they know when they get too much ease, they know it's time to brace themselves for another test from Allah. So when they see ease, they get scared. When the regular people see ease, they get happy and they forget all about the test. And Allah said, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. He said, and He repeated it twice, He said, for sure, with every hardship, there's ease. But if you analyze the statement in the Quran, you know, Allah, He's very surgical with speech. He used the word hardship, He put the definitive article on it. Meaning, with every one hardship, and then He left the word for ease indefinite. To mean with every single hardship, they're going to be followed many, many, many eases. And He repeated it again. Inna ma'al usri yusra. So even when we do get tested with hardship, we should remember that when was the last time I got tested? So much ease passed in between, I almost forgot there was hardship here. So that should help us also to be patient. And a lot about patience, it's not just any patience. You know, sometimes we see people, we might tell a child, hey, do such and such, and we're going to do this. They go and do the thing, and they say, oh, you know, when we're going to leave, or when can I get that thing? And say, be patient, you're going to get it. And they stomp off, and, you know, they got a ugly face, and they mean mugging, and, you know, so they go sit down somewhere. That's not patience. Allah said, Fasbir sabran jamila. He said, be patient with a beautiful patience. Not when you barely tolerate the situation, because really, who is that feeling being directed to? That feeling of, you know, that disappointment, or, you know, I should get this, I should get that. Really, it's being directed towards nobody but Allah. So we should be scared of that. We should be afraid of that. Because Allah, He the one, He said, فَعَالًا لِمَا يُرِيدُ. He going to do whatever He wants. And لَا يُسْأَلُ أَمَّا يَفْعَلُ وَهُمْ يُسْأَلُونَ. Nobody going to ask Him nothing, but He going to be the one to ask everybody about everything. So we have to be careful. And even when we are being patient, we have to be patient with a beautiful patience, knowing that Allah, He controls everything. And He gives us so much ease that we shouldn't even fix our face to be disappointed when we get a hardship. it's human nature that as soon as it hit, for sure we feel something, we feel some disappointment, we feel down a little bit, but we should, as soon as as our heart reminds us of that, we should fix our face, we should fix our energy, and we should fix our heart and make sure that we're having a beautiful patience. For sure, Allah, He guaranteed already, those who are patient, they're going to be among those who He rained down or showered down His blessings on and His mercy, and they're going to be the people who are rightly guided. Well, who are going to guide themselves? الحمد لله الذي أمرنا بالتقوى وابتغاء الوسيلة وهدنا على طلب الدرجة له والفضيلة. أمرنا أمرا بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى بملائكة كرسه وثلث بالمؤمنين من جنه وإنسه. قال تعالى تشريفا لنبيه وتكريما إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. وروى عن أنس أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من صلى عليه صلاة واحدة صلى الله عليه بها عشرا. وفي رواية من صلى علي عشرا صلى الله عليه بها 100 ومن صلى علي 100 صلى الله عليه بها 1000 ومن صلى علي 1000 زاحمت كتفه كتفه على باب الجنة. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah who has commanded us again to have taqwa, and He has commanded us to seek a means of access to Him, and of course we know the best means of access to Him, the best self-help, the best guidance is the lifestyle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and just following in his footsteps. So again, we always remind each other that we don't know the lifestyle of the Prophet, we don't know the sunnah of the Prophet, we don't know the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to study that, we have to learn it, and the learning has been made easy for us. If we, don't have time to sit down and read, we can pull up, podcasts, YouTube videos, audio on our phone when we're walking, when we're driving. There's never, even when we're laying down to rest, it could be just the last thing that we're listening to before we go up to fall off to sleep. It's so easy that the knowledge has been put right at our fingertips. It's been made super easy to the point where nobody has to get up and go seek out a teacher even. Nobody has to go out and leave their home and travel to another country. If they want, they can sit right in their home and join all manner of classes on Zoom and other platforms. There's no excuse in this day and age for the believer to be an ignorant person. So may Allah protect us from that, from being ignorant, because as the Prophet ﷺ said, al-ilmu imamul amal. Knowledge is the leader or the imam of action. You can't do something if you don't know what it is you need to do. You don't know what is required from you at the time. You understand? That is the essence of a person just following their own desire. And we always remind each other, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Inna akhwafa ma akhafu alaykum ittiba'ul hawa wa tul amal. He said, the thing that I fear most for you, and that meaning he's indicating when I'm going from you. He wasn't afraid of that when he was with them, in front of them, because he's going to correct them on the spot. But he said, the thing that he feared most once he's gone, his physical presence is gone from us, is that we would start to follow our own desire in matters and to put off things and to procrastinate. We always mention it because it's something very important. He said, فَأَمَّا اتِّبَاعُ الْهَوَىٰ فَيَسُدُّ عَنِ الْحَقِّ. As for the person who they, in the face of all this information and knowledgeable people they can just reach out to and dial their number on the phone. They don't even have to call them, they can just send them a text message, ask them a question. But instead of that, when they face with a circumstance where they have to make a decision, right or wrong, they just do whatever comes to their mind. Whatever happened to that person, it's almost like they deserve it. So we should make sure that we know what we're doing at all times. We shouldn't follow our own desire, because that's going to take us away from the truth. Anything, we always start in the beginning of kutbah, anything that take a person away from the truth is going to mislead them. And anything that mislead a person going to take them to hellfire. So may Allah protect us from that. And then, of course, he said, فَأَمَّا تُولُ أَمَلْ فَيُنَسِّ الْآخِرَةِ. And for the person who put things off or procrastinate, it's going to cause them to forget all about the hereafter. Altogether. Today, we might just put off salat, put off this, put off that. Then we start putting off things long term. But yeah, inshallah, I'll make Hajj in 2030. Nobody know when they're going to die at no time, no matter whether they're a baby or whether they one of our oldest elders, a centenarian, somebody who hit 100 years old. Nobody knows when they're going to go. So to put off something is not intelligent. When we're doing it, we're not in a space where we're in touch with our intelligence. At the time when we're putting something off, that's when we're not in touch with our mind. So again, we should make sure that we don't, even the smallest thing, we don't just do the thing any kind of way we want to. The Prophet ﷺ is a reason why Allah sent him. And he caused him to live his entire life in front of the believers, from start to finish, because he showed us everything. He was the Quran walking. Anybody who want to know what Allah like and don't like, they just look at the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So for everything that we do in life, there's a right way to do it, and there's another way to do it altogether. So we make sure that we know the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, because that's part of loving him. We always mention that the person who sends salutation upon most on the Prophet ﷺ, Allah is blessing them, and Allah is increasing their love for the Prophet. And whoever increases love for the Prophet, they're going to follow him. So we have to struggle on both ends, send salutation on him, and that's a shortcut way. And then the long way is to learn his Sunnah and implement it in our life. Don't just do things any kind of way, but we should do it the way that Allah, we know Allah like it, the way that the Prophet ﷺ, he would have us do it. If we do that, for sure, we're going to be the one to benefit from that, not anybody else. So may Allah help us. May Allah make it easy for us to tread on his path. May Allah give us guidance in our life for ourselves, our children, our family, our spouses, our closest of kin, even our neighbors and our other family members who are extended. May Allah give them guidance from us even, and make that a form of da'wah, that when we live our life correctly, that they see that and in turn want to be on the right path as well. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم وعليكم الإكرام من الصلاة عليه شكرا تجد ذلك أن الله أعظم أجرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد عبدك ونبيك ورسولك النبي الأمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أولد والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. ورضي الله عن صحابته وخلفائه الراشدين الهادين المهتدين الصديق الأكبر سيدنا أبي بكر المنير الأنور، وعن سراج أهل الجنة الناتج بثواب شهيد المحراب أبي حسن سيدنا عمر بن الخطاب، وعن منفق الأموال في رضا الرحمن أبي عبد الله سيدنا عثمان بن عفان، وعن باب مدينة العلم ليث بن غالب أبي الحسن سيدنا علي بن أبي طالب، وعن الستة الباقية لا زالت إلى الأولى راقية. اللهم انصرنا بهم وانصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين. اللهم أهلك من كان في هلاكه راحة للمسلمين. اللهم أهلك إسرائيل. اللهم أهلك إسرائيل. اللهم أهلك إسرائيل ودمر أعداء الدين واكتب السلامة والعافية لعبيدك المؤمنين، ونجنا من كل بلاء وربا وغلاء وطاعون وزنا ووباء، وطهر من جميع ذلك بلادنا خاصة وبلاد المسلمين عامة، واغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأشياخنا ولمن سبقنا بالإيمان وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم فرج عن أمة سيدنا محمد. اللهم فرج عن أمة سيدنا محمد. اللهم فرج عن أمة سيدنا محمد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم.